Hello guys, and welcome to what is eventually going to become a small series here over the winter season, where I'm going to try to film as many of the big German SUVs as possible. So I just spent 2 weeks in the VW Touareg, which was really nice. I love that car. And now I'm in the Mercedes GLE 400, which is available in two versions. You can get a coupe version similar to the BMW X6, but I'm driving the regular one just because it's better for comparing it with other cars like the Touareg or the Audi Q7, which I'm going to drive next year, or the Porsche Cayenne, which also should be coming up next year. So yeah, if you love those kind of cars, definitely stay tuned to the channel. I will be driving more of them. But let's talk about the GLE. And of course you guys are going to say, well, this just looks like an ML. And basically it's just a small facelift with a name change. Mercedes is doing this thing with GLE and GLA and GLS because all their SUVs now have a GL in front of the model name, basically. So similar to their sedans, A-Class is the smallest car, S-Class is the biggest one. That's how this name system works. So this is basically their E-Class SUV, if you want to say so, what I'm driving here. Yeah, and I have to say I do like the way this car looks. Visually it's a bigger car than the Touareg. It also has the optional AMG package on it, which gives you this really aggressive looking front end, which I like. But it's giving you a different experience driving this car than the Touareg, just because, yeah, it's way more in your face, especially here in white. Despite the fact that I think white is the best selling color right now in Germany, this really does set a statement on the road. People look at it despite the fact that it's a really popular car, the ML and GL range here, especially in my area here in southwestern Germany. So that's something to consider. On the inside, the theme of white and black with AMG touches goes on. I have the AMG interior package in this car, a lovely steering wheel. This white leather with black piano paint trim pieces is something that you have to like. I personally would actually go for something a little bit more sedate. I would go for a black car with maybe a beige interior with wood trim pieces, just because I think a car like this is more about having a relaxed drive. And yeah, this looks a little bit too sporty for the driving experience that I'm getting here. But yeah, let's talk a bit about the impressions that you get driving this car and about its interior here first. The driving position in this car is great, everything is adjustable, and this is actually the only car that I've tested this year where I can sit behind myself when the seat is adjusted for me. Yeah, a lot of headroom back there. I'm 6'4", 194 in German measurements, and being able to sit behind myself and still having a little bit of headroom is something that I've not experienced in any of the other cars that I tested this year, including the Touareg. So that's a plus point for the GLE. Of course, this car here is almost fully loaded, so we have rear entertainment, so your children can watch TV or DVDs. And yeah, we have this really beautiful set of Mercedes headphones. It's just a quality experience, this GLE interior here, and I think that's one of the plus points actually, not only of the GLE but of all Mercedes cars that they have introduced this year and over the last 2 years actually, that they do feel really expensive on the inside and that they've made a big step in this particular area for me. I mean, not everybody likes this multimedia interface here that they use. Mercedes doesn't do touchscreens, so they want you to use this rotary control and this touchpad here, and it works excellent actually. I also like the way this screen here looks. The graphics really do look like from an iPhone or something, so that gives you a quality experience. Everything in this car really does feel expensive and well made. So now we've talked about the interior, which I really like, but let's talk about the driving impressions and the driving experience of the GLE here, especially in comparison to the Touareg that I just drove. And I have to say, immediately you notice or end up with the impression that this car feels like a bigger car to drive than the Touareg on the road. I mean, I drive these cars on very small winding roads here in southwestern Germany, so that's actually the perfect playground to get in-depth driving impressions of these cars. And yeah, while the Touareg basically feels like a big Golf to drive and you get into it with a lot of confidence from the first moment actually driving off, and yeah, completely lose awareness of the fact that it's a big car, the GLE does remind you that you're driving a big car a lot. And the reason for that is, for me, primarily the steering. The steering in this car here, I have optional air suspension and stuff like that on this car, so I can choose 2 settings for the steering, for the transmission, power plant, and also for the suspension. But even all set up sporty, there's absolutely no feel coming through the steering. It basically feels like it's connected to a set of pillows rather than a set of tires, and it's just not very precise. It has a lot of self-leveling, feels quite rubbery off-center here, and yeah, that's not great in a car as big as this, driving it on small roads. You constantly end up having to readjust your steering. It's very, very hard, and you have to be very concentrated to drive through a corner without having to do adjustments to your steering input constantly here. So I'm trying, but yeah, it's just not precise enough to let me do that. And that's one of the main reasons why you end up feeling like driving a bigger car when you drive the GLE in comparison to the Touareg. Other things, well, like I said, I have the optional air suspension on this car, which gives you 2 different settings, but still, for me, this suspension in the comfort mode doesn't even feel as comfortable as the Touareg in the sport mode. So there's more body roll, but it doesn't deal with road imperfections as nicely as the Touareg. The engine that I have in this car is available worldwide. That's why I picked it. It's the smallest petrol engine that you can get for the GLE here in Germany. It's the 400. It's a 3-liter V6 basically with 333 horsepower, and it makes 480 Newton meters of torque. The performance is actually really good. I mean, 6.1 seconds from 0 to 100, almost 250 kilometers top speed. That's faster actually than a Dodge Challenger V6, which I drove in the United States last year. So the performance is really impressive, but still, I have to say, it drinks too much fuel. I would personally really go for a diesel car for that reason. And I don't like the transmission in this car. This 7-speed automatic here is not as smooth, it's not as seamless as the 8-speed that I drove in the Touareg. It stays in gears too long. It doesn't seem to have a coasting function, which would really help the fuel consumption a lot. And yeah, it's just not as smooth. You're more aware of the transmission too, and you're looking at the gauges just to see what it's going to do. It's not staying in the background and just serving you like it should do, you know. So that's a bit annoying for me, I have to say. I was expecting more as far as the driving experience goes in comparison to the Touareg from this GLE here. And that's really the main impression that I'm ending up with here. I mean, I love the way this car looks, especially the exterior looks really great to me, and Mercedes does a great job on giving their cars an expensive look. I think that's really important to mention here again. I think that's also one of the reasons why their cars have become so popular again, and yeah, that's where they are good at, you know, as far as design goes and the quality experience of a car like this one here. Even though the Touareg wasn't bad, actually. I can't say that I prefer this interior here to the Touaregs. I really can't. But as far as the driving experience goes, to me this just constantly feels like a bigger car, something that forces me to be more concentrated than the Touareg. And yeah, that's the main impression that I'm leaving this car with. Of course, you will get a better retail value. Of course, the Mercedes badge is a unique selling point for most people who buy these cars. So I would really love to hear some owners' feedback here for the review from you guys. But yeah, if I'm brutally honest, I don't prefer it to the Touareg, and I'm very interested to drive more of these SUVs just to see which is going to be my favorite here soon over the next few months. But I hope you guys enjoyed this review a bit. It's actually the last one that I'm going to film this year, so I hope to see you in 2016, guys. I wish you a Merry Christmas, have a great Christmas evening, and a Happy New Year. And yeah, tell me what you like best this year, or which kind of cars you like best, because I tried to give you a bit more variety. Not everything worked as great as I was hoping for, but yeah, still. Tell me what you like, have a great Christmas, have a great Happy New Year, and I see you in 2016. So drive safely in the winter, take care, see you soon.